Tonight, the victors were out in force, celebrating as though they'd won by a big majority instead of by a whisker. In fact, here in Istanbul and in Turkey's two other largest cities, Izmir and in Ankara, the capital, the No campaign seems actually to have won. The worry is that the result has been too narrow to settle anything for good.
The bangs aren't just fireworks, those are guns being fired. The fact is that there is a big underlying level of nervousness and anger here, which really the result of this referendum being so close hasn't done anything to calm down.
Tayyip Erdogan will be a world leader, God willing, says this man.
No, this is the history.
However slight his majority in the referendum, President Erdogan has taken the decision to push through his far-reaching constitutional changes and deal with any consequences.
So today, a decision made by the Turkish public is a historic moment. This is not an ordinary decision. This is not an ordinary day. It is a very serious changes are underway for Turkey's future.
Hemen bu konuyu.
Then he went out to speak to some of his supporters face to face. They chanted, "Bring back the death penalty," and he seemed favourable to that. His argument all along has been that only a really strong presidency can galvanise Turkey into being successful and wealthy. So he's getting rid of the old constitution's checks and balances. He's giving himself the power to hire and fire the country's judges. And he's made it possible for himself to stay as president until 2029. There have been one or two small opposition demonstrations, but he's stamped down so hard on his opponents in recent years that they're reluctant to come out onto the streets in any great numbers. The Yes campaign may not have won the popular vote in the capital, Ankara, but there tonight it had its celebrations all carefully choreographed in advance. This has indeed been a day on which history was made, but it's likely to cut Turkey off further from its old allies in Western Europe and America. What we've seen today looks like a major change of course.
But John, it was a narrow victory, 52% to 48%. How is President Erdogan going to bring this country of 75 million people together?
Well, actually, Clive, I really don't think that he wants to bring people together very much. After all, he's won this narrow victory by demonising the opposition, stirring up quite a lot of anger and sometimes a certain degree of violence in the country. I don't think he's going now to say, all right, well, you've got a viewpoint which we are prepared to listen to. I think he's just going to carry on and force it through as he forced the referendum through. As for the opposition, what do they do? Well, you know, you would have expected them to be right here in Taksim Square, in the centre of Istanbul, where there've been so many demonstrations over such a long period. There's absolutely nobody here whatsoever. It looks as though the opposition for the time being is simply stunned by their failure to win. Most people, I think, in the opposition thought that they would just make it. And so what do? Well, I think an awful lot of people are going to leave the country. They're going to go to the West in different ways. And I think they're going to sit there. The last big demonstration that happened here by the opposition was in 2013. And that was followed by deaths and large amounts of injuries. And I think the stuffing has gone out of the opposition altogether now.